Yeah, the whole branding, the social media, there's a lot of things he wasn't gonna get into that he's like, shoot, man, I gotta play this game. Damn it. Um, did you get the vitriol, especially given the feel for the game? I was surprised that the fans it was as subdued early as it was, but the players definitely didn't get that memo.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Northwestern. I think maybe the Nebraska coaches had talked about Northwestern being the kind of team that played a little bit beyond the whistle. I also think that Nebraska knew after what had happened at Minnesota that they were going to have to play with a little bit more edge, and that meant taking things, you know, right up to the whistle and beyond. And there were a couple moments there where I think Nebraska, you know, in Northwestern, it looked like it was going to be a little mini brawl
Yeah.
on the field, or as most people know, just a regular game with the Steelers. And so, you know, seriously, they're like getting in fights all the time.
Yeah.
And so
I wish they
that's how they play,
I
you
wish they could
know.
play better defense, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, they like to fight. Anyway, you know, so I think there was some of that was going to happen, and I thought Nebraska matched Northwestern's edge. I think Nebraska or Northwestern is a very hard nosed and well coached team. I really do. I think they've got good coaching. They don't have a ton of talent, but they have good coaching, and that's a challenge for Nebraska all into itself. Not because Nebraska doesn't have good coaching, but sometimes they have failed to match up to the team that just plays consistently for
Yeah,
3 hours,
when a
even if they
team
don't
isn't
play like
gonna
yours.
blank, sometimes
Right.
Nebraska has had to rub their eyes. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
For sure. And so I thought Nebraska did a nice job there. By and large, I thought Nebraska performed pretty well. I think for the second time this season, you saw why Nebraska has Dylan Raiola and wanted him on the team. And that is kind of, I mean, it's not exactly all that he's there to do. Of course not. But that is part of what he's there to do. Is when it matters late in the game, it is his job to lead the team to touchdowns that win games.
Mm.
And he's done that now twice. Um, that one doesn't quite count as a 2 minute drill, but it was a hell of a drive,
It was almost
and
seven
he
minutes
deserves a lot
worth.
of credit. Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit for how it turned out, and that's why you have him there. You know, so you have to credit him with his play on that drive, particularly the play to Hunter. It was a great throw, great evasion of the rush. And you might argue that one of the differences in that game was Raiola versus their guy, and their guy wasn't bad all the time, but he made a couple of mistakes. So, uh, yeah, good win. Now you gotta bring all that energy and then some, and you really got to coach it well against USC because USC is going to come in with a lot of. They will have prepped really well. They have a very good defensive coordinator, certainly every bit as good as Nebraska's offensive coordinator. So this will be a challenging contest for Nebraska in every way on Saturday.
Let me ask you something, Sam. Hopefully, you won't be prisoner of the moment. And I'll give you a couple things. I've said all off season and into the season when I talk about an Isaiah Hunter, I talk about his competitiveness. I always say he's not a natural pass catcher, good after the catch, whatever. Danke, the most polished. Barney may be your best. I get it now. People are a little upset. They think he goes down too easy. They don't watch some of that. We have short term memory when it comes to. We just remember the ones that he gets tripped up, not the ones where he like runs forever. But when I
Mm-hmm.
so all three things that those guys bring to the table. We saw the key catch along the sidelines from Barney. We saw the toe drag touchdown from Hunter. We saw the savvy sit down by Key on a critical third down, in which I don't even know if he had a target up until that point. Uh, who would you try to take away, or who do you think is kind of the key figure of those three in this offense if it's going to hum outside of EJ?
I think I think defenses generally try to take Barney away. Although you can scheme him into a touch with a toss or a quick throw.
Because he's
Those
in the
haven't been
slot, you
very
mean?
successful. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that hasn't
yeah.
been very successful. Those plays, but they'll hit one eventually. The end around was close.
Oh man,
to be in a really big play.
Yeah. Had to go a little too
I don't
far
know.
wide
They
around.
needed
that
a
yeah,
little bit
just had to stretch too much. Yeah.
Yep. So they're trying to find ways to get him the ball. I think teams are trying to take him away because they know that he's really good after the catch. Hunter is benefiting, I think, from some of the attention that's going to Key and going to Barney, but in the red zone, Hunter's really good. I mean, those plays that he's made are legit. I think that's his third one this season. He made one against Cincy. He made one against Maryland. He made one against Northwestern. Those are Nebraska's 3 best wins of the season. Not coincidental, I don't think.
And I get it. He dropped the one against Minnesota, but for a guy that is awkward with his hands,
doesn't drop a lot.
He doesn't drop a ton.
No, and he's very physical, and he's obviously got all the athletic tools. Very fast. He's a good player, and Nebraska did a nice job getting him. And when Dana was asked, I think this was mid-season after the Maryland game, what they liked about Hunter, he said, well, 50-50 balls. And so whatever they saw on tape, they were like, this guy wins in contested situations. And that's like Quincy Enunwa. I don't think he's quite as good as Quincy, but he's in that level of
I don't know. That's a good one.
Yeah, Quincy's pretty good.
They're similar, and I think he isn't quite like Kenny Bell. I think Kenny Bell was better.
So I would probably give after the catch to Hunter over Enunwa, but Enunwa, that's a good because they're kind of body awkward catcher. Yeah, I get the comp. I probably would lean Hunter post grabbing it though.
If you were to rank, I don't know, in the 21st century.
That's a good poll.
Which is since 2000, mm-hmm. Nebraska's top 5 receivers. You'd be challenged not to put Enunwa in there.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good. That's a good poll.
I don't know who number 1 is because I really don't think it should be Trey Palmer. I don't because he was only here 1 year and Trey was only good at a handful of things, but he was very good at those things. But Enunwa was the one who had 12 touchdown catches back in 2013 or 2013. And so he's pretty special, and he won him a couple of games that year. He helped them win a couple of games that year. But he would be up there, and Isaiah Hunter by the time he's gone.
Yeah,
maybe in that top 5. Stanley Morgan.
I'm gonna take in the Hunter Enunwa. I'm gonna take Hunter.
By the end of his career,
the running after the catch.
Yeah.
Although I do like the Enunwa pull because I think he's
Enunwa's a great pull. Stanley Morgan's got to be in there.
He was sensational.
Our boy Kenny's got to be in there.
Stanley Morgan was really so good.
Really, really good.
To
We're
never
have
be talked about.
21st century team, and I don't know who the receivers are going to end up being. It's going to be challenging because
Stanley Morgan
Maurice Purify was very good too at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. The guy that had the best pro career was Quincy, and it was cut short by injury. Although Trey Palmer may end up having that, I don't know. I mean, Trey Palmer
how
to
quickly
Nebraska,
he flamed out for the start that he got off to is incredible
for Palmer.
Yeah, and Tampa.
Yeah,
I was like, he's a budding star.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Do you throw Westerkamp in there?
Yeah, they're. Probably. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, I think he's
a pretty good college player.
Your real-time thought process is hilarious. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's a pretty good college player. Like,
as a top 5 receiver, I think you could make that argument. I think Nate Swift was pretty good, too.
Great guy.
I don't know. Like, I think it's hard to. That's one of the harder ones. And then there's other ones where if you had to pick 2 running backs, it's going to be very, very hard to pick between Roy Hallou, Rex Burkhead, and Amir Abdullah. Amir Abdullah makes the list, actually. It's not.
I'll say you're just picking between
Abidullah's number 1.
Burkhead and Hallou, basically, right? For the second spot?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're picking there, and I think Corey Ross probably finishes just short of those 2. But Amir's number 1. But then you got to pick between those 2, and that's very hard to do. And then Marlon Lucky. Is Marlon Lucky in there? Is Brandon Jackson in there? It's hard.
I don't know. Best wishes.
I liked Brandon Jackson a lot.
But Nate was the original Swiftie too. Don't get it twisted. So.
Speaking of running backs, not of Swifties, Sam, what did you think about Nebraska's offensive game plan?
Well, Dylan, to his credit, actually did a great job of explaining it in the postgame that Northwestern had a light box and they were filling late with their safeties, and so under those circumstances you run the ball. And kudos to Dylan for explaining that, because I think everybody else thought it was a commitment thing, and the reality was Northwestern was comfortable giving up those kind of gains in the middle of the field, and then when they got down inside the 20, I'm sure the play that pisses Northwestern off the most was the first third down run that Johnson had, where he just out-toughed.
Yeah, he got that on his own. Northwestern fit that right. They ate Nebraska up, and that was all effort. That was all EJ, man.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's the play that bothered them, because I think their plan was, well, when they get down there, field goals, we're going to make them settle, and then we'll win the game that way. And he turned that drive into a touchdown. And then Hunter turned the other one into a touchdown with a great play. And so I'm sure they were furious with that. And then those third down plays, I know they were mad about that. So there were several plays in that game where I think Northwestern would say, well, hey, you know what, gall darn it, we won 73% of the snaps in that game, or we played it just the way we wanted. But Nebraska had those handful of snaps, including the kickoff return, where they beat us, and that was the difference in the game. And I think that's probably about right. So I thought the game plan was fine. I thought they did a nice job of taking what Northwestern gave, of possessing the football. And, hey, that touchdown drive, though, I think is who they probably really want to be, like late in the game. And it's like, all right, we're going to run rub routes and these little out routes, and we're gonna get it done our way. And Dylan's gonna throw it. He's gonna throw it on time, and everybody's gonna break a tackle. I'm sure that was one of Dana's favorite drives of the year, maybe his favorite drive, and probably Dylan's favorite drive if you get right down to it, other than the Maryland game. So I thought they played okay on offense. They're obviously limited, and again, this week they might have a game where things get loose and they're able to make some plays.
Yeah, that's I know. It's going to be the ultimate discipline, and I'm not ready to move on to SC just yet. I'll just say this before I ask you this question about EJ. That game is going to boil down to discipline, because you're going to watch this SC film and you're going to think, man, there's plays to be made. Back in, you can go at 22. Like, there's some things, but it's like, I go back to Coach Rhule's comments, who they need and want to be versus who they're capable of being. Like, that whole thing is going to be fascinating as they game plan this week. But let me go back to this. I've said this for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and I'm reminded of it this morning as I think they have an off day. The most underappreciated thing about EJ is his ability to get back up and not be bothered by the contact he receives. His toughness and malleability with his body, I don't even know if bendability is a word, but his flexibility, his ability to absorb tackles and not have it look like it's wearing on him is incredible. Whatever he did to get his body ready is grossly underappreciated. I said, who kept hitting him in the back after those catches out of the backfield?
Oh,
and I'm like, you guys don't understand. Like, it's amazing that he just keeps getting up and goes back to the huddle. And the next play, I said his 17th carry looks like his 7th. It's a very underappreciated skill that EJ has.
Yeah, he brings a lot of intangibles to the table.
Because he's not a big guy. He's a tough guy.
Yeah. I've been a fan of his for a long time. So I was confused back in 23 and 24 why he didn't play more. And again, Dana Holgorsen changed his career. In a good way. I think Dana Holgorsen saw the qualities that other people maybe overlooked for whatever reason. And he has leaned into Emmett Johnson, and he is, I'm sure Emmett's going to come out of this season somewhat banged up because of his usage rate. He's getting 74% of Nebraska's running back carries this season, which is 5% higher than Anthony Grant did in 22. And Anthony Grant wasn't the same player in 23 as he was in 22. And so I don't know. But it's going to end up being a very memorable season for him. He's going to go over 1,000 yards. He's probably going to have 1,500 all-purpose yards. It'll be one of those things where he's able to say, I completely maxed out what I was capable of. And he's going to be happy that he had a coach that believed in him like that. And that is exactly what it is. It's a marriage of all the things that he's good at and a coach that believes that what he's good at really matters for this offense. And I think you've seen that. So, as Emmett gets older, 10 years down the line, I don't know if it's going to be like when Amir Abdullah comes back, but it's going to be, hey, there's Emmett Johnson. And man, he was good. And I hear that from fans all the time, how much they appreciate how hard he is to bring down and how tough he is. He's going to be a guy that people remember for a long time because of his toughness, and he'll feel that. When he's 40 years old, he'll be able to come back and everybody will go, there's Emmett Johnson. And he earned that this season. It's pretty cool.
Sam, moving on to USC now, as you've seen Nebraska's offense against Northwestern and Minnesota the last couple of weeks, and then you see USC and what they've done all season. Is there have you kind of decided in your head the way you think this game needs to go?
I know you guys
For
both.
Nebraska to win.
I know you guys both came into this and you're thinking, oh, Raiola would have 20-some more pass attempts than Mayavet.
Yep, 100%.
I know that's what everybody thought, right?
Yeah. I think they got to get a couple of turnovers. I think they have to.
Well, they'll give you a shot.
He's thrown some incredible passes this year that almost look like mistakes, right? And you got to pick a couple of those off. I don't know how he's fit some of the throws he's fit in, but the reality is, it's hard to know if those are incredible skill, like a Justin Herbert level skill, or if they're luck. And Nebraska needs to make the previous 8 games of his or 7 games of his luck. They need to pick up a couple of those passes off. When he throws to Mekhi Lemon, who's 5 whatever, he's listed at 5'11".
He might be the best slot receiver in the country.
He's terrific, but there's moments where he'll throw him the ball, 27 yards downfield, and it's like literally right in the basket. You got to pick those off. You have to try to get an interception or 2 off this guy. I think they can, but I also think they have to. I don't think this is a game where USC can have a clean record on turnovers and lose. I think they're gonna score, and you have to take a couple of their drives and flip them in your favor. So that's one thing. I think the defense has got to go get a turnover too, and you could force fumbles too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And then on offense, I think you have to play the possession game, and you have to know in your heart that you're not Notre Dame. So Notre Dame is able to go, punch for punch with any offense in the country the way they're playing. And they have 2 great backs, and they got great tight end, great quarterback. Nebraska can't be Notre Dame.
And so somehow it still took SC to botch a 4th and inches and throw a wide receiver reverse pass. Like, there's still some SC in though.
There is. I don't think Nebraska can be Notre Dame. And so if they watch that tape and go, well, we're going to do that, good luck. I think Notre Dame's offensive line's better. I think their quarterback is probably as good as Dylan right now. And their running backs they got 2 instead of 1, and they got receivers, whatever.
What number back are they on?
USC?
Notre
Like
Dame?
3rd or 4th? Yeah, I think
USC's on their 3rd guy, and their 3rd guy, it's a goofy deal where he's a walk-on, but it's an eligibility, like it was some other.
Yeah.
He couldn't play somewhere else. He's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
He's not as good as the guys that got hurt. I can tell you that.
No, he's not Wayman Jordan.
No, he's not as good as the guys that got hurt, and you saw that in the Notre Dame game. But they can run the ball. But at the end of the day, I don't know that. I think it's going to come down to forcing a couple of turnovers. So, in other words, keeping USC under 35. And then Nebraska has to play a possession game where they go on long drives, they possess the ball, they physically wear USC down, and then they leverage the crowd. The crowd's going to be great. this is one of those deals where, you hope you win 28-24. Everybody goes home happy. I think it's going to be hard to win in a shootout. I think if USC gets to 31 points, they're going to win. So
that's interesting because I think the total is 59.5 or something like that.
Right, and USC is a 6.5-point favorite. So that says 31, 31-27 or 30, 32-25 or something like that.
Yeah.
And before the season, I might have said, well, I think Nebraska could win a shootout, but Nebraska's offense just has enough challenges on the offensive line. At this point, we're probably at Pritchett and Corcoran. Maybe Gatula comes back, but of course, you don't want to put an injured guy out there. So there's that issue, and this is not a perfect Nebraska team going into this game. They know that they're banged up, and they know they're a little bit undersized. They're going to play as hard as they can and try to win it. And if they do, then, again, keeping everybody healthy down the stretch here is going to be absolutely crucial. The trainers, I think it was Emmett Johnson that shouted out the trainers, right? And that was good of him to do because I think Nebraska's getting banged up a little bit, and they're going to have to kind of piece it together down the stretch. I would say at this moment, if Nebraska gets to 8 wins, they've done well with the guys they have on hand, but 9 is possible. 9's possible, and to get to 9, you got to win this weekend, and maybe they can pull it off. It's going to be a tall task, but I think they got a shot.
So let me ask you something, because I kind of hear, and you can feel free. I know you will. Correct me if I'm wrong. You seem it seems a little like David and Goliath is a stretch, but you clearly don't feel good about the matchup. But I got to ask, what is it about SC where you're like, oh, shoot? Is it just that they're the better of the worst? Like, when you look at SC, what is it where you're thinking to yourself, we're in trouble here?
I think it's not so much the coaching points or the X's and O's, it's the numbers. 31, 24, and 21. That's what Maryland, Minnesota, and Northwestern scored.
Yeah.
And so if you average those out, it's something like what? It's something like 25 or 26 points a game. And none of those offenses are as good as USC's. And so I think it's fair and logical to say that it will take Nebraska's best efforts. Michigan State scored 27. Michigan scored 30. So at this moment, what you're looking at is a defense that's given up, I think, about 27 points a game in Big Ten play. I think they're scoring about 27 points a game in Big Ten play. And that shows you kind of where they're at. So I think Nebraska's got to – that's why I say turnovers. I'm not saying they can't do it. I think they can. Mm-hmm. I think the one thing I'd say about Maava is that he has thrown some throws, and I've watched them a ton. He's thrown passes this year that you're just like, how in the hell did he do that? Oh, yeah. Did he know what he was going to do?
He got away with 2 against Illinois. I was like, what the?
He throws a lot of interceptable balls.
We did it to Nebraska last year, but he's clearly better this year than he was last 100%. Year. Yes. So, I mean,
no question. He's a good player.
Yeah, he is.
And the thing that I see about him is he does not get affected by mistakes. Like he does a nice job of staying calm or whatever, poised, and in the face of error. And so I've been very impressed with his play. I'm just saying that there's 2 throws a game in there where Nebraska's got to pick the ball off, and Sierra Wright's got to go get one, or Andrew Marshall, or whoever. And if Nebraska does that, I give them a really good chance of winning. If they're not able to force him into mistakes and a turnover, then I think it's going to be very hard, because I have a hard time seeing Nebraska scoring 31 points. They've had a hard time doing that, and maybe this is the game where USC's defense is so discombobulated,
and you don't get the physicality up front at the point of attack either. Like that's kind of like, if you ask me today, and I got to watch a little more. If you ask me today, I think that's the one thing we're underselling.
Stylistically,
how
this
SC plays with their front. I don't know, Sam. 6.5
Mind you,
seems
I've picked
6.5
Nebraska to win every game this year.
6.5
Every game
seems
but
no. Hey, no, you're not like way at left. Like you're not crazy. I'm just saying like 6.5 seems a little high, but stylistically, I think it's a better matchup than we're giving it credit for. I'd rather have Nebraska spread out trying to play defense than trying to play it in a phone booth for 4 quarters. It sounds weird.
I think you're right.
But I prefer USC style over Minnesota's for this team. Because
I think that's fair.
Because schematically, they'll do a lot of different things on the back end. Now, you got some studs that he can throw the ball to, and you got to – but the lemon on right in the slot – like, there's some good matchups. For me, it's can Nebraska – they're going to have to dominate, not just win. They have to dominate special teams.
Yeah. I think, and they can do that. They have a chance to pull that off. I think one of the other things that you put into consideration is just the coaching matchups. So I think their defensive coordinator does a pretty good job with the guys they have. I think he's an equal matchup to Holgorsen. And then Lincoln Riley is among the 3 or 4 best minds in college football.
I just hope he has. I hope he has those moments where he outthinks himself, because that's probably his Achilles.
It is his Achilles heel for sure. But there's few better than he is. He's better than Holgorsen. He's done a really good job of creating a run game out of a spread set. They're able to do some things that I'm sure Nebraska wishes it could do, and maybe Nebraska can do. And I'm not trying to say Holgorsen isn't really good. The first drive of the game, listen to David Braun after the game commend Nebraska's first drive, which,
it's always pretty good.
Yeah. Holgorsen comes out with something outside of the Minnesota game. He comes out with some good stuff, and Braun said they were taken aback by the little RPO play. But Lincoln Riley's as good as there is, and so you have to take into account that he knows what Nebraska is not good at, and he isn't just going to say, "Well, we're going to do whatever we do anyway." I think he's going to take that into account with his game plan. Remember that they have a running quarterback. He can run. He doesn't want to.
He's really good he is really good at buying time. He moves just enough to give you gives you a headache.
He clearly wants to be buy a time quarterback, but he can run too. They have a backup quarterback who they will run, who comes into the game, and he's a good runner. You just don't USC has to do everything it can. Like, this isn't a game where they're like, well, let's hold a little back for Oregon. No, they have to. They're going to play every game out like it's a national title game from a schematic standpoint. He's coaching for his job, but he's also coaching for the playoff. Because if USC wins out, they're going to be in the playoff. They'll be in the playoff. So I think everybody kind of knows that, and I think it's going to be really interesting down to the end. And I think USC is going to come in and play hard. Nebraska's going to have to mash it. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I think Nebraska's got a shot of winning, but they're going to have to play well. This isn't like, well, they'll fall into a win. No, they're going to have to play, in my opinion, their best game of the season, beat USC.